Ladies and gentlemen, listen up. Woman, listen to me right now. You don't have to fight this battle alone. I know life can get heavy. I know the weight on your shoulders feels like it's gonna break you. But here's the truth. You were never made to carry every burden by yourself. Strength isn't about how much you can hold on to, it's about knowing when to let go. When you hold on tight to every struggle, every worry, every pain, it drains your spirit. It steals your joy. But there's power in surrender. When you give it to God, you're not giving up, you're stepping up. You're showing courage. You're saying, I trust something bigger than me. And let me tell you, that kind of faith moves mountains. It brings peace in the storm. It renews your hope when the world tells you to give up. You see, giving your struggles to God doesn't mean your problems disappear overnight. No, it means you're no longer alone in the fight. You're letting God take the wheel, guiding your steps, opening doors you never even saw. It's in that letting go that miracles happen. When you trust God's timing, your breakthrough will come. It may not be when you want it, but it will come. I want you to know this. Fear and loneliness lose their power when faith steps in. When you stand firm on that truth, you become unstoppable. You're not abandoned, you're deeply loved. God is fighting for you even when you can't see it. So woman, stop fighting alone. Stop trying to do it all. Stop believing the lie that you have to be strong on your own. Give it to God. Hand it over. Trust him and watch your life change. You're stronger than you think, but even stronger when you walk with him. That's your power. That's your victory. So take that step. Release the burden and watch what God will do. You were never meant to carry every burden by yourself. There's strength in surrender. Think about that for a moment. How often do we try to be superheroes in our own lives, carrying every worry, every fear, every pain on our own shoulders? Society tells us to be strong, to stand tall, to fight through adversity without showing weakness. But that idea of strength is incomplete. True strength isn't about how much you can bear alone. It's about knowing when to let go and lean on something greater than yourself. It's in surrender that real power is found. When you try to carry every burden alone, you're setting yourself up for exhaustion. Your spirit grows tired, your mind overwhelmed, and your heart heavy. Life's challenges don't become lighter by holding on to them so tightly. Instead, they crush you under their weight. You may feel like you're supposed to manage everything, the pain, the disappointments, the broken dreams, the relationships, the responsibilities. But the truth is, none of us were built to carry all that alone. We were created to lean on God, to find rest in his strength. There's a reason the scripture says, come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. That invitation is a reminder that surrender isn't defeat. It's a pathway to renewal. Surrender is often misunderstood. We hear the word and immediately think of giving up, quitting, or admitting failure. But surrender is none of those things. Surrender is an act of courage. It's a conscious choice to stop fighting with your own limited strength and instead place your trust in God's unlimited power. When you surrender your burdens, you're not handing over weakness. You're embracing faith. You're saying, God, I can't do this on my own, but I believe you can. And that belief changes everything. It's like unloading a heavy load you've been carrying for years and suddenly realizing how much lighter you feel. That's strength. When you surrender, you open yourself up to receiving help, guidance, and peace that can't come from your own efforts. You stop trying to control every outcome and start trusting that there is a bigger plan unfolding. This trust doesn't mean life will become perfect or that struggles will disappear overnight, but it does mean you're no longer alone in the fight. You become part of something bigger, a divine partnership where God carries what you cannot. The strength of surrender lies in the relief that comes when you acknowledge your limits and invite God's limitless power to fill in the gaps. Many women carry burdens silently, feeling they must be the backbone of their families, communities, and even their own lives. You may feel that if you stop fighting alone, everything will fall apart. But the truth is, when you release the weight and give it to God, he becomes your strength and your shield. You don't have to prove yourself or earn his help. It's always available to you. Surrender allows you to rest in that assurance, to stop the endless struggle of doing it all yourself, and to find freedom in knowing you are supported by a love that never fails. When you surrender your burdens, you also make space for healing. Carrying pain alone can isolate you and deepen your wounds. But when you hand your struggles to God, you invite his healing power into your life. Healing doesn't always look like instant resolution. Sometimes it's a gradual transformation that happens as you let go of control and open your heart to divine restoration. This process can bring peace where there was turmoil, hope where there was despair, and light where there was darkness. Surrendering also strengthens your faith. It teaches you to trust God's timing and his ways, even when you don't understand them. Faith grows when you choose to let go of your fears and doubts and rely on the promises that God has made. It's in those moments of surrender that you discover resilience and courage you didn't know you had. You realize that your strength doesn't come from your own ability to fight every battle, but from your willingness to trust God's power to fight for you. Sometimes the hardest part of surrender is admitting that you can't do it all on your own. It requires humility to say, I need help, and vulnerability to allow someone else to carry the weight with you. But it is also deeply freeing. When you surrender, you break the chains of self-reliance that keep you trapped in exhaustion and despair. You step into a new reality where you don't have to carry your burdens alone. This freedom brings peace to your mind, rest to your soul, and renewed strength to your spirit. Remember, strength and surrender isn't just about giving up your burdens. It's about giving them to the one who was always ready to help you carry them. It's about releasing the false notion that you must be strong on your own and embracing the truth that real strength is found when you choose to trust God's hands. When you surrender, you align yourself with a power far greater than any challenge you face. This alignment is where transformation happens, where your burdens become stepping stones, and where you find a strength that cannot be shaken. Surrendering is not a sign of failure. It's a declaration of faith. It's the moment you say, I believe there is a purpose behind this struggle, and I trust God to lead me through it. And in that moment, you stop fighting alone and start walking a path paved with divine strength, peace, and hope. Fighting alone drains your spirit. Trusting God brings renewal and peace. When you try to face life's battles on your own, it can feel like carrying a weight that grows heavier with every step. The constant pressure, the stress, the anxiety, it all wears you down, sometimes so slowly that you hardly notice until one day you realize you're running on empty. Fighting alone exhausts not just your body, but your mind and your soul. You become tired in a way that sleep can't fix and weary in a way that rest doesn't heal. It's like trying to swim upstream against a relentless current, using every ounce of energy but never quite making progress. This kind of struggle is isolating. It whispers lies into your heart that you are alone, that no one understands, and that you must keep pushing harder even when you have nothing left. When you trust God instead, everything changes. Trusting God is like finding a calm harbor in the middle of a stormy sea. It doesn't mean the storm disappears immediately, but it means you no longer have to fight against it by yourself. Trust invites renewal, the kind of deep restoration that rejuvenates your spirit from the inside out. It's a renewal that lifts the heavy burden off your chest and replaces it with a quiet strength, a steady peace. This peace is not just the absence of conflict or pain, but the presence of something greater, a confidence that you are held, that you are not alone in this fight. Trusting God opens your heart to this peace and allows your weary spirit to breathe again. Fighting alone can make you feel isolated, even when you are surrounded by people. The pressure to keep everything together, to act strong and capable, can push you into a lonely place. You might carry your burdens in silence, thinking that no one else can help or that asking for help shows weakness. But this isolation drains your spirit. It cuts you off from the support and encouragement you need. Trusting God breaks through that isolation because it is a connection to a source of strength that never runs dry. It reminds you that you are never truly alone, no matter how heavy your load feels. This connection brings a kind of companionship that is both comforting and empowering. When you fight alone, your mind often becomes a battlefield filled with fear, doubt, and worry. You replay scenarios over and over, imagining worst-case outcomes and trying to control every detail to keep disaster at bay. This mental exhaustion can leave you anxious and restless, stealing your ability to find rest or joy. Trusting God shifts your focus from what you can't control to the one who holds all things in his hand. It invites you to let go of anxiety and rest in the assurance that there is a plan, a purpose, and a way forward, even if you can't see it yet. This shift brings clarity and calm to a troubled mind. Spiritually, fighting alone creates a divide between you and your faith. You may question why God allows the struggle or feel distant from his presence when life feels overwhelming. But trusting God is an act of faith that bridges that divide. It is a choice to believe in his goodness and sovereignty even when circumstances are difficult. This trust strengthens your spiritual foundation, giving you a firm place to stand when everything else feels unstable. It renews your hope and deepens your relationship with God, allowing you to experience his peace in a profound and lasting way. Physically, the toll of fighting alone is real. Chronic stress and emotional strain affect your health, leading to fatigue, headaches, and weakened immune function. When your body is constantly in a state of fight or flight, it can't heal or restore itself properly. Trusting God doesn't mean you ignore practical steps to care for yourself, but it does mean you release the burden of carrying the weight alone. This release eases stress and allows your body to begin recovering. The peace that comes with trust soothes your nervous system and supports your overall well-being. Trusting God also renews your perspective. When you fight alone, it's easy to get stuck in a narrow view of your problems. You see the obstacles and the pain, but not the possibilities or the growth that can come through them. Trust opens your eyes to a bigger picture, a story where your struggles are not the end, but part of a journey. It helps you see that challenges can build resilience, deepen compassion, and strengthen your character. This renewed perspective brings hope and motivation to keep moving forward, even when the path is difficult. When you stop fighting alone and start trusting God, you tap into a source of strength that is greater than any challenge. This strength isn't just about overcoming obstacles. It's about finding peace amid the struggle. It's about having a spirit that is renewed day by day, even when the external circumstances haven't changed. Trust replaces fear with faith, isolation with companionship, exhaustion with energy, and despair with hope. It allows you to rest in the assurance that you are not alone, that you are cared for deeply, and that your struggles are being carried in a way you never could manage alone. Trusting God is not passive or weak. It is active and courageous. It takes faith to hand over your battles, to admit that you can't do it all, and to believe that God is working on your behalf. But it's in this act of trust that your spirit is renewed. The peace that comes from trusting God is the peace that passes all understanding, guarding your heart and mind even when life's storms rage around you. It's a peace that sustains you, strengthens you, and carries you through every trial. Giving your struggles to God is not weakness. It's an act of courage and faith. In a world that often equates strength with independence and self-reliance, surrendering your difficulties to a higher power can feel counterintuitive. Many people believe that to admit you need help or that you cannot handle your burdens alone is to show weakness, to expose vulnerability that others might exploit or judge. But the truth is far from that. Choosing to give your struggles to God requires more bravery than trying to carry everything on your own. It takes a deep trust and a boldness to say, I can't do this by myself, but I believe God can. This act is a profound statement of faith and courage. When you hand over your struggles, you are acknowledging a truth that many find difficult to accept. You are human, and humans were never meant to be omnipotent. There is an inherent strength in recognizing your limits and turning to a source of power that is beyond yourself. It's not giving up or quitting. It's stepping into a greater strength. It's an admission that you cannot control every outcome, that you need help, and that you are willing to trust someone bigger than yourself to carry the weight alongside you. This kind of humility and honesty is an act of bravery because it exposes your heart. It's saying, I am willing to be vulnerable and I am willing to trust. Faith plays a central role in this courageous act. Giving your struggles to God is ultimately a declaration of belief in something greater than the difficulties you face. It's a choice to place your hope and trust in God's wisdom, timing, and love, even when the path ahead looks uncertain. Faith means holding on to the conviction that no matter how hard the battle, God is working on your behalf. It means believing that the hardships you endure are not meaningless, but have a purpose within a larger plan. This kind of faith does not come naturally to most people. It is cultivated through experience, prayer, reflection, and sometimes through the very struggles you are facing. But when you take that step, it transforms the way you see your challenge. Giving your struggles to God also means relinquishing control. It requires courage to release the tight grip you may have on your life's difficulties. Control gives an illusion of safety. If you manage everything perfectly, you think you can prevent failure, pain, or disappointment. But this illusion is exhausting and ultimately unsustainable. To surrender your struggles to God is to say, I trust your hands to carry this burden. It is a courageous decision to let go of the illusion that you are the one in control and to place your trust in God's perfect plan. This act of surrender is not passive. It is an active choice to believe that God's power and love will carry you. In addition to courage and faith, giving your struggles to God brings peace. It creates space in your heart where worry and fear once lived. When you release your burdens, you make room for God's peace to enter. This peace is not dependent on circumstances. It is a deep, sustaining calm that anchors you even when the storm rages around you. The courage to give your struggles away opens the door to this peace because it frees you from the exhausting battle of trying to solve everything on your own. This peace renews your strength and prepares you to face whatever comes next. Many people fear surrender because they worry it means losing their identity or strength. But surrendering your struggles to God actually redefines what true strength looks like. It shifts strength from being about toughness and self-sufficiency to being about trust, reliance, and partnership with God. This partnership does not make you weak. It empowers you in ways you couldn't imagine. It allows you to lean on a power that never falters, to gain courage when your own reserves run dry, and to find hope in places where despair seems to rule. The courage to surrender your struggles creates a foundation of strength that can weather any storm. Giving your struggles to God is also an invitation to growth. When you try to face everything on your own, you may miss the deeper lessons embedded within your struggles. But surrendering allows you to open your heart and mind to God's guidance and wisdom. It teaches patience, humility, and trust. These qualities grow through the act of giving your burdens to God. It shapes your character and deepens your faith. This growth can transform your struggles from sources of pain into stepping stones toward greater resilience and understanding. Sometimes people hesitate to give their struggles to God because they fear being judged or misunderstood by others. But giving your struggles to God is a private and personal act of courage. It doesn't require anyone else's approval or understanding. It is between you and God, a sacred moment of trust that transcends human judgment. This act of faith is powerful because it bypasses external pressures and taps directly into divine strength. It is a safe place where your vulnerabilities become the seeds of your strength. Giving your struggles to God also changes your perspective on suffering and hardship. Instead of seeing struggles as punishments or signs of failure, surrender helps you view them as opportunities for divine intervention and growth. It reframes difficulties as part of a larger story, a story where God is present, active, and working toward your good. This perspective takes courage because it requires you to believe in the unseen and to trust that good can come from pain. It requires faith that there is purpose in your suffering and that God is walking with you every step of the way. Ultimately, giving your struggles to God is one of the most courageous acts you can take. It's a declaration that you will not be defeated by your burdens because you are not carrying them alone. It's a bold statement of faith that God is bigger than your problems and stronger than your fears. This act of courage and faith opens the door to transformation, peace, and renewal. It invites you to live in the freedom of surrender, where your strength is replenished, your heart is healed, and your spirit is empowered to rise again. When you let go and let God, you open the door to guidance and miracles. This simple act of releasing control is one of the most powerful decisions you can make in your life. Often we hold on tightly to our problems, our plans, and our fears, believing that if we just try harder or think more carefully, we can fix everything on our own. But the truth is, some things are beyond our ability to manage. And it is only when we surrender that we make room for something greater to work in our lives. Letting go means stepping out of the driver's seat and inviting God to take control. Not because we are weak, but because we recognize that His wisdom and power far exceed our own. When you choose to let go, you create space for God's guidance to enter. Without releasing the tight grip you have on your situation, it's impossible to hear the gentle nudges or see the subtle signs God places along your path. Holding on too tightly clouds your vision and clogs your heart with anxiety and fear. But when you open your hand and say, God, I trust you, you become receptive to new possibilities, fresh ideas, and divine direction. This guidance often comes in unexpected ways. A chance encounter, a timely word from a friend, a feeling in your heart, or a quiet sense of peace that points you in the right direction. These moments are God's way of leading you step by step, and they only become visible when you release control and trust His plan. Letting go also means releasing the need to control outcomes. Control is an illusion that often traps us in cycles of worry and disappointment. We try to manipulate circumstances, people, or even our own emotions to fit our expectations. But life rarely unfolds exactly as we want it to. When you let go and let God, you surrender your desire to control every detail and accept that His timing and methods are perfect, even if they don't match yours. This acceptance brings freedom. It removes the heavy burden of responsibility and replaces it with peace and confidence. You begin to understand that the outcome is not solely dependent on your efforts, but on the power of God working behind the scenes. Miracles happen when you let God lead. A miracle isn't always a sudden, spectacular event. Sometimes it's quiet and gradual, a healing that takes place over time, a problem that dissolves unexpectedly, a relationship restored, or a door opening where there seemed to be none. Miracles are the evidence of God's presence in your life, and they often come when you least expect them in ways you wouldn't have imagined. By letting go, you step into a space where miracles can occur because you are no longer standing in the way, trying to force things to happen according to your limited understanding. Instead, you allow God's limitless power to work in your favor. The act of surrender requires faith. It means believing that God sees what you cannot see, knows what you do not know, and loves you more deeply than you can comprehend. This faith fuels your willingness to release your struggles and trust God's hand on your life. It is faith that enables you to say, I may not understand why this is happening or how it will be resolved, but I trust that God is in control. That trust becomes a foundation of hope that carries you through uncertainty and doubt. When you let go and let God, you also receive strength beyond your own. Life's challenges can be overwhelming, and trying to face them alone can leave you feeling powerless. But surrendering invites God's strength into your weakness. It's in this moment of vulnerability that true power is revealed, not your own, but God's power working through you. This divine strength equips you to endure hardship, to make wise decisions, and to move forward with confidence. It transforms fear into courage and confusion into clarity. Letting go opens the door to peace as well. When you hold on tightly to your problems, your mind races with the what-if says and worst-case scenarios. Anxiety builds, sleep is restless, and your heart feels heavy, but surrender calms the storm inside. It brings a deep peace that transcends understanding, a peace that guards your heart and mind even in the midst of chaos. This peace is a gift from God, given to those who trust Him fully. It sustains you when circumstances don't change right away and provides a refuge for your soul. By letting go and letting God, you invite transformation into your life. The process of surrender changes how you see yourself and your situation. You move from a place of struggle and resistance to one of acceptance and trust. You begin to realize that your value and worth are not tied to how much you can control or how hard you fight, but to the fact that you are deeply loved and cared for by God. This transformation brings freedom from fear, hope in the midst of despair, and light in the darkest moments. This act also deepens your relationship with God. Surrender is a daily choice, a continuous journey of faith and trust. Each time you let go and give your problems to God, you strengthen your connection with Him. You learn to listen more closely, to recognize His voice, and to rely on His presence. This growing relationship becomes a source of comfort, encouragement, and guidance throughout your life. Letting go is not always easy. It can be scary to release control and trust in something unseen. Doubts may creep in, and fears may try to pull you back into self-reliance. But each time you choose to let go, you take a step closer to the abundant life God desires for you. a life filled with his guidance, miracles, peace, and strength. It is in this place of surrender that you discover the fullness of God's love and power at work in your life. God's timing is perfect. Patience and trust unlock the breakthrough you need. This truth can be one of the hardest to accept, especially when you are in the middle of struggles, waiting for answers, or longing for change. It's natural to want things to happen immediately, to see results quickly, and to have control over when and how your life shifts. Yet the reality is that God's timing rarely aligns with our own schedules or desires. His plans unfold according to a wisdom far greater than ours, and learning to trust that timing is essential for the breakthroughs we seek. Patience is the companion of faith. It is not merely waiting, but waiting with hope and confidence that what is coming is worth the delay. When you practice patience, you are acknowledging that the process is just as important as the outcome. You recognize that God is shaping and preparing you during the waiting period. This time is not wasted or meaningless. It is a vital season for growth, learning, and refinement. You begin to understand that the waiting period is not a punishment, but a preparation, a sacred time for God to work in ways that you cannot yet see or understand. Sometimes the desire for immediate results tempts you to take matters into your own hands, rushing ahead or forcing outcomes. This can lead to mistakes, missed opportunities, or unnecessary pain. But God's perfect timing teaches you to wait wisely and to act only when the moment is right. It encourages you to seek guidance through prayer, reflection, and listening for God's voice. When you align your actions with His timing, your efforts become more effective and your breakthrough is more complete. Patience and trust also bring a sense of peace that guards your heart and mind. When you are anxious about the future, your thoughts can become chaotic and overwhelming. But choosing to trust God's timing helps to calm the storm within. You find a quiet assurance that whatever happens, God is in control and working all things for your good. This peace sustains you through the waiting and keeps your spirit steady, even when answers are delayed. The perfect timing of God also reveals His faithfulness. When you look back on moments of waiting, you often see how God's plan unfolded exactly as it should have, even if you couldn't understand it at the time. Recognizing this builds your confidence in His timing for the future. It strengthens your faith and deepens your relationship with God, knowing that He is trustworthy and always working for your ultimate good. This truth about timing applies to all areas of life. Whether you are longing for healing, waiting for a breakthrough in your job, praying for a relationship to be restored, or seeking direction for your life, God's timing is perfect. It means that when the moment arrives, you will be ready to receive the blessing fully, and it will have a lasting impact on your journey. Patience and trust invite you into a rhythm of surrender. You learn to release your need for immediate answers and embrace the mystery of God's plan. At its core, faith is trust in something greater than ourselves, in a power that is bigger than our fears, and in a love that never abandons us. This trust becomes the foundation upon which hope is built. Fear can make you doubt your worth and abilities, while loneliness can foster feelings of rejection and unworthiness. But faith reminds you of your inherent value as a beloved creation. It encourages you to see yourself through the eyes of divine love, which believes in your potential and purpose. This divine intervention is often subtle and unseen, working quietly behind the scenes to turn situations around, to provide peace in chaos, and to bring victory where defeat seemed inevitable.